Hi there and welcome to podcast 2. I've been told numerous times now that it's not a podcast, it's a vlog. So let's call it vlog 2. I would have it downloadable as an audio, but I feel it's just more personal this way, so we'll keep it this way. So I promised I'll talk about my diet today, and I guess the best place to start is my position and where I come from, sort of what my background is with food and physique. So I'm endomorphic genetically, so I do tend to store a little bit more body fat. I find it very easy to gain weight, particularly fat. I find building muscle okay, but it just takes a lot more work for me to lose body fat and to diet down, so I do tend to take a little bit more time doing that. I'm not the sort of person that can get away with having little treats here and there. I feel like I look at cake and put weight on. I feel like that sort of body type, so I do have to monitor everything quite closely. In terms of growing up, I never did any training. I hated sport, I hated exercise, so I'm not even one that's got a good metabolism or anything that's fine-tuned or particularly efficient. And even sort of nutritionally, I just ate for convenience. I just ate for taste and convenience. So I didn't really think about, what I was eating or what I was putting into my mouth. I just ate what was there. So it'd be sort of oven food, convenience, high fat, high sugar snacks and things like that. So from a background, it's not looking great. So I have to work a little bit harder, I feel, just to sort of gain muscle and to lose fat, really. So I monitor my weight quite closely. I use the scales normally, which obviously is not always a great idea for everybody. Doesn't work very well for some people, and especially if you're sort of new to training and exercise and stuff. Obviously you can put weight on, but it's no knowing whether it's muscle or fat that you're putting on. But I feel it works for me quite well because I just like to see the numbers, and I've stabilised quite well now, so I can see if I add anything different or try something slightly different. I can see if my weight goes up or drops down a little. So I find it actually works really well for me in terms of progression. So that's that. At the moment I'm currently 2 kilos above stage weight, which doesn't sound like very much. It's about 4.5 pounds, but it does look very different. I look very different now compared to how I look on stage. I'm just about holding on to abs, but I'm generally just a bit softer looking. So although it's just 4.5 pounds, I think it does make a big difference when it's on the body, and obviously some of it's going to be fat. Well, most of it's probably going to be fat. So I found I'm stabilising quite well now on 1,800 calories, which again doesn't seem all that much. I just don't feel like I can, I obviously don't burn off enough to lose weight. So this is stabilising me quite well. I do have a fairly similar routine day to day, so that works quite well for me because it means I can plan my meals quite well. I can fit to a routine. Generally speaking, it's quite easy for me to follow a routine, so that's really good. So in terms of food, it works really well. It's quite convenient. I do keep my protein really high. I always have and I always will. I'm always trying to build muscle, so it's just good there to keep my protein turnover quite high. In terms of carbs, I tend to keep them very low. I think I'm on about 70-80 grams of carbs at the moment, which probably doesn't seem very much to most people, but it seems to be enough for me. I mean, I'm taking carbs in my first meal, then I go train, and then I've got carbs post-workout and carbs in meal 2 as well, so I base them mainly around my training. I have sort of fats towards the evening because I'm more sedentary in the evening. I don't move so much, and I find it works for me to have my higher fat meals then, so that's kind of how it works for me. I do really want to be gaining weight now, as I want to be building muscle, and I know that sometimes that calorie surplus, while it does sort of lay down a little bit of fat, it is needed to build the muscle. So I do want it's a mental battle for me at the moment with the scales, just to allow my numbers to creep up, really. So that's my goal, as you know. I do obviously want to stay as lean as possible, but I know that this sometimes is difficult, and I have to accept that I do have to put on a bit of weight, so a little bit of fluff, So that's that. I'm thinking about how to sort of go from here, really. And what I think I'll do is, because I've stabilised quite well so far, I think I'll just add another portion of carbs, perhaps about 150-200 calories, to meal 3. So meal 3 is generally my wild card meal at the moment. I've got meals 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6 are fairly set, and my post-workout as well. but meal 3 tends to be just something that I can grab. It might be a Quest protein bar, it might be total Greek yogurt with some whey mixed in, just something that it just gives me a little bit more variety, and I'm able to just enjoy my off-season diet a little bit if I know I've got that choice there. So that's really what I'm doing at the moment. So if I can add some more carbs to meal 3, then that would probably help me just maybe gain a bit more muscle mass, maybe just make sure I get my recovery on point. So that's the idea. Also, how my plan differs now I'm off season to competition. Obviously I'm a lot more sort of, there's more variety there. I can play a little bit around with foods and enjoy it more. So obviously, as you know, I have my peanut butter. I'm loving Hognut's peanut butter at the moment, so that's a little treat that I have. I feel like, it feels like a little treat, but I get it every day. Sugar-free squash and cordials, that's something I'll bring in. If I'm really sick to death of water, I'll just throw a couple of glasses of cordial in just to make it a bit more enjoyable. Generally I stay away from lactose and bread as well. So I find that milk isn't very good for me. However, I can get away with a bit of yogurt, so that's why I sometimes have yogurt for meal 3. So I don't completely cut lactose, but I just don't feel like it keeps me tight. So I do try and avoid it even off season. I also like to play around with little, the sugar-free, fat-free things like the Jello mix and the Walden's Farm syrups and things like that. So I do play around with those just to make food a bit more exciting and just make it feel like I'm having more of a treat sometimes. Also things like silly things like I only have green veg when I'm prepping for competition, but I'll have carrots and peppers and coloured veg as well. So although it doesn't sound like much, it feels like a bit of a treat as well. And then there's also when I'm having like tin tuna, I sometimes add a bit of light mayo to that just to make it more palatable. So although I'm quite strict still with my foods generally, there are little things that I just can add in now that I can enjoy it all a bit more, and not worry too much about it adding too many calories or adding fat. So that's the idea. I also love cheat meals, as you all know, so that for me is such a mental break. So that's why I find it so easy to stay on point through the week, because I know that at the weekend I can have a cheat meal, and it kind of depends on how I'm feeling as to what it might be. If I feel a little bit watery or just feel a bit fat, then I might have something clean like sushi or Nando's or something like that. But if I feel that I'm quite tight and I can get away with a little bit more, then I might have go for a big burger and fries or something like that. I do like granola and things, so I try and avoid sugars, but then every so often I will have a bit of chocolate or have a big bowl of granola or something like that. So it kind of just depends. It's off season, so I just kind of play it by ear and go with with what I already know. I do want to talk a little bit more about cheat meals in another vlog, because I feel like there's quite a lot I can talk about with that, and I think there's quite a lot of people, we have a lot of issues around cheat meals. I mean, some people don't have them at all, and for some people it's best not to have them. Some people opt for refeeds instead. So I think that I'll leave that for a separate vlog, because I've got quite a good few tips as well as how to keep it a cheat meal and not end up spilling over into a cheat day or binging or anything like that. So I will talk about that another time. So I think really it's just got to plan ahead for what to do next in terms of my diet. I really do enjoy fats and things, so I think I'll keep them where they are towards the end of the day, and I will just add in that extra portion of carbs sort of halfway through the day and see how that affects me. If I feel like I get too fat, then I'll probably have to reassess, but it's having that thing that I have to just accept the fact that the numbers on the scale will go up slightly and steadily, and hopefully just hope, fingers crossed, that I'm just building more muscle as we go. So that's that really. Quite a short one today, but I'm just sort of telling you guys where I am at and sort of introducing you to all the different areas. So I still want to do a podcast on, obviously I want to do one on cheat meals. I want to talk about training as well, and also I think I'll do a separate one on supplements, because they can be quite tricky for some people, and what do you rate, what's best, what probably isn't necessary. So I'll talk about that as well. But yeah, so that's everything for now really. If you want to follow me on Twitter, obviously I'm at Serene Husseini. If you're local to Loughborough and pop into Dynamite Gym on the High Street, then obviously I'm going to be there quite a lot. Or you can just email me at serenebodyfit@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on vlog 3.